Unleash the power of knowledge and connect with the heartbeat of the African diaspora. Download our African Diaspora News Channel app now on Google Play and Apple App Store. Stay informed with authentic and diverse perspectives, breaking news, and cultural insights. Immerse yourself in a community that celebrates unity, resilience, and progress. Experience the vibrancy of the diaspora at your fingertips. Don't miss out. Empower your perspective today. Search African Diaspora News Channel and join the conversation.
Peace, family. My name is Vicki Dillard for African Diaspora News Channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. As you come in, be sure to give us a big thumbs up, and share the broadcast. That way others will know that we're here. And for that, we say thank you so very much, family. Perhaps some of you all know by now that an absolutely amazing global summit is taking place at the time of this, at the time that I'm recording this broadcast, and it is the G20 Summit. Just very briefly, for those of you that may or may not know, the G20 is a block of 19 of the world's largest economies and the European Union. The African Union also joined in 2023. The member countries are Argentina, Australia, Brazil, Canada, China, France, Germany, India, Indonesia, Italy, Japan, Mexico, Russia, Saudi Arabia, South Africa, South Korea, Turkey, the UK, and US. Spain is a part of the G20 as a permanent guest. So I just want to give you that brief rundown. In the process, dear family, of this summit, which is still going on at the time of this airing, the Global Citizens Now, there was a Global Citizens Now event, right? And the title of this sit down is called Fireside Panel, Ursula Von Der Leyen, President of the European Commission, and Cyril Ramaphosa, President of South Africa, in conversation with Hugh Evans, co-founder and CEO of Global Citizens. I want you to watch these very, very, very brief clips here.
What emissions are concerned, but they're also cheap. That is crucial for affordable energy. And they are homegrown. So for many of them, you can have them at home. They create good jobs at home. So lots of economic good arguments for it. The third,
sun and wind, and that can be utilized to good effect to grow our economies, to ensure that at a social level people have access to electricity. But of course, this does not come as cheap as one would think. It requires finance. It requires clear decisions by leaders, not only on the African continent, but by leaders globally. And it is good that COP28 took that decision.
Just before we move on, can you just elaborate for everyone? When you refer to the just transition, can you explain for those in the room who aren't familiar with that term, what that really means for economies like South Africa?
Well, just transition means that as we move towards renewable energy, we should not just say that we will transition to renewable energy without taking into account the livelihoods of ordinary people, the jobs that could be lost as we move to renewable energy, because right now we are much more dependent on fossil fuels. So as we go to renewables, relying more on the sun, on the wind, on hydro, we've got to make sure that as people lose jobs and as their livelihoods are eroded, and as towns where we used to draw fossil fuels deserted, we've got to make sure that the transition for ordinary people becomes a transition that they benefit from.
Okay, family, I know it was very short, but I wanted you to see this contrast here. Did you hear where the European Union's or European Commission, that's the technical term of the actual governing body that she's associated with, did you hear her talk about cheap sources, energy renewals as it relates to the continent of Africa? And then once President Ramaphosa of South Africa jumped in, he turned around and shut that down. About the cheapness of it all. Did y'all hear that? Did you hear him break down the fact that one must be just in coming up with these new renewables? Of course, right now, much of the West and the world relies heavily upon what? Fossil fuels, right? And of course, like I said, the rest of the world as well. But all the pressure is on the darker nations of the world to hurry up and convert to the renewal sources, right? They don't want you to benefit off of fossil fuels like they did, but they want you to hurry up and do it. And they're trying to tell you all the benefits, which includes it being cheap, right? Well, he broke down the fact that in all of its cheapness, he said we need to take into consideration what? Because even the host there, which is why I wanted you to hear what he said, he wanted him to elaborate on what he meant in the earlier part of the conversation about it has to be just. So the clip that you saw of the host saying, please elaborate on what you mean by just, he said we have to take into account what? Ordinary people. He said we need to take into account the job loss that it's going to cost them. And then he made the contrast between the fossil, making the change from fossil fuel to renewable energies and stuff, right? And I appreciate them saying that because, see, this is what America and the West does. They put the pressure on all these other darker nations of the world, the global South, to hurry up and switch over. They don't want them to benefit from fossil fuels like they did. But they want them to suffer with hurry up and switch over, even though it's the United States and many folks in the West that's responsible for the catastrophe that's happening on our planet. I can't wait to hear what you have to say about it and whatever you think about some of the goings on the continent of Africa, and in particular the country of South Africa. Of course, I love South Africa. I did much coverage on a lot of coverage on that, especially when the previous foreign minister, Dr. Naledi Penny, which of course I miss her so much. She is absolutely one of my favorites and a hero from a distance. And inshallah, I pray that I have the high privilege of meeting her one day. We have my colleagues here. We have several colleagues here now that does a lot of coverage on South Africa. But I wanted to talk about that in particular because he puts her in her place, and good on him for doing so. Family, there are a lot of contrary forces that's on our planet that's working throughout the earth, dark forces, energy forces, and especially here in the United States, which means it has an effect around the world. I want you, family, to join, to save your seat for my free, absolutely free, no obligation webinar where I'm going to be breaking down these dark energies that was at work during our presidential campaign. And I'm going to break down the true interpretation of the prophecy about the dry bones army rising up and what that means to you. I don't care what your religion is. I don't care what your spiritual system is. I don't care if you don't have one. If the people that run the world have a spiritual or religious playbook, you ought to know about it if you expect to have victory. You ought to know about it if you want to be strategic in how you move because you understand the thinking of the oppressor. Yes. So be sure to go to my website. On the front page, you can find registration there for a free seat. Breaking this down. I have to talk about this offline, baby. Go to VickiPlanet.com. That's VickiPlanet.com. That's VICKI Planet.com. Of course, share the broadcast here from African Diaspora News Channel. I can't wait to see you again.